Hello, everyone. I hope that you're doing well. Late last month, House Republicans all across the country released our strategic plan to restore our nation to one that is free, safe, and full of opportunity. This plan is named the Commitment to America, and it has been in the works for well over a year in anticipation that the Republicans will once again gain control of the majority in the House of Representatives. Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy split the Republican members into several task forces to work on ideas, plans, and solutions to many of the issues that Americans are facing. The work of each task force was compiled into four major categories: a government that's accountable, a future that is built on freedom, a nation that is safe, and an economy that's strong. Some may recognize this as being similar to the Contract with America, which former House Speaker Newt Gingrich championed back in 1994. Now, while there are several similarities, partially because Newt was assisting and consulting us as we worked on this plan, our plan goes beyond the Contract with America. You see, we've taken these ideas and principles and we've given them legs in the form of legislation. Not only are we talking about how to fix the problems, we're already drafting bills to introduce them as soon as the 118th Congress convenes in January of 2023. Now, over the next 4 weeks, I'll be discussing each of the four categories of the Commitment to America, starting with a government that is accountable. While the faltering economy, national security, and crime are top priorities of the American people, resolving these issues hinge on having a government that is accountable, responsible, and actually works in the interest of the American people. Unfortunately, the majority of Americans, they don't trust our federal government and its seemingly endless numbers of bureaucracies, agencies, and departments. And that's for a good reason. Over the past several years, Americans have been inundated with reports of scandals, corruption, and abuse of power by federal officials. According to recent polling, over 80% of Americans say they don't even trust the federal government and they don't believe it's working in their interest. You may find this surprising, but the majority of Republicans in Congress also distrust the federal government. And over the past couple of years, we've been shut out from being able to even investigate key issues for the American people. Issues such as the origins of COVID, the failed withdrawal from Afghanistan, the excessive use of power by the Department of Justice, the unconstitutional expansion of regulations by government agencies, and many more issues. You see, it's Congress's constitutional responsibility to hold the other two branches of government accountable. However, over the past 2 years, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and congressional Democrats have refused to oversee and investigate this administration and have prohibited Republicans in Congress from doing this also. This is why one of our top priorities will be a government that is accountable. There are several issues which we will aggressively be investigating to ensure that government officials are held accountable and the American people know the truth. But there is also several legislative and policy changes that we must pass in order to reform government, including reforming Congress. First of all, we have to reform the budgeting and appropriations process. According to law, Congress is to have all appropriation bills completed and sent to the President before September 30th of each year. Since I've been in Congress, I have been fighting for us to follow the law and appropriately appropriate. But that has never happened since I've been in Congress. In fact, the last time this was accomplished, Newt Gingrich was Speaker of the House. Every year that I have been in Congress, we have continually kicked the can down the road and passed stopgap measures to temporarily fund the government. This broken process opens us up for massive amounts of wasted spending, fraud, and reallocation of funds by the administration. But there's also a third part of the appropriations process that Congress has effectively ignored, and that's the authorization of government programs and offices. According to law, Congress has to not only budget and appropriate spending, but it also has to authorize these expenditures. Programs, offices, and bureaucracies, they expire after a certain period, and it is the responsibility of Congress to reauthorize each entity or remove its funding. Since Congress abandoned the proper procedures for appropriating years ago, there are countless programs, offices, and bureaucracies that are operating without authorization, and they are continually funded. The primary tool Congress has to hold the other branches accountable is through the power of the purse, or our appropriations process. However, since the budget, authorization and appropriation process was hijacked or abandoned years ago, Congress has lost a lot of its authority of oversight and accountability. We have to regain our constitutional authority of oversight and accountability by exercising our constitutional authority of fiscal responsibility. When it comes to our out of control national debt, Congress also has to regain control over our own spending. As it has been decades since Congress has appropriated properly, it's also been decades since we've operated with a balanced budget. It's a well known fact that unrestrained power breeds corruption, but it's actually money that feeds power. The American people have been footing the bill of Congress and executive branch that believes in throwing money at a problem in hopes that it eventually goes away. But all that has happened is to push Americans deeper and deeper in debt while empowering government bureaucrats. Every term that I've been in Congress, I have introduced a constitutional amendment to actually balance the federal budget. In the 118th Congress, I will once again reintroduce this bill. My amendment takes into consideration that the United States is obligated to pay our current debt, which will take time, but at the same time, we can't spend ourselves out of debt. My balanced budget amendment would require Congress to maintain a balanced federal budget within 10 years of ratification. This time period will give Congress a decade to reform government, reduce spending, and pay off the debt, which can be done within 10 years. I know getting Congress to pass a constitutional amendment that effectively takes power away from Congress is a daunting task, but with enough pressure from the American people, I believe we can get this done. But we can't wait to pass a balanced budget amendment to get serious about reducing debt and cutting spending. As I mentioned earlier, we must adhere to budgetary procedures that ensure fiscal discipline as well as refocusing our national priorities. Our plan in the 118th Congress is to appropriate responsibly. That means adopting a real budget and enforcing rules preventing unauthorized spending, but also stopping the abuse of emergency designations and enforce fiscal controls. Spending bills must be sensible that keep the most critical government programs running effectively and efficiently, with proper oversight by Congress. Inevitably, we will have to reduce funding levels of many agencies and programs so that we can properly fund higher priorities, such as national defense, border security, and protecting Americans' property, their rights, and freedoms. We have to move away from the current philosophy that unlimited spending is a national security strategy. In fact, what has made us more vulnerable and less accountable is unrestrained spending. Another area of concern for most Americans is the corruption that exists within our federal government. It's obvious, even to the most casual onlooker, that there are two standards in America, one for the people in power and another for the average American. Our founders defined justice as the equal application of the law to everyone. However, we have seen countless incidents of abuse of federal authority in one area while totally ignoring blatant illegal acts in another. There has also been a weaponization of federal authorities against political enemies of those in charge. Americans are sick and tired of these double standards and are demanding change. In a previous audiocast, I went in depth into the history of how political appointees have been embedded deep within the federal departments and are protected from removal. What some have called deep staters are not something dreamed up by conspiracy theorists, but is a well known and documented fact that was accomplished during the Obama administration. The fact remains, regardless if it's a presidential appointee that was converted to a permanent government position simply to disrupt Congress and any conservative administration, or if it's a government employee that is just doing a poor job, these people should be removed from employment. Unfortunately, under the current federal employment law, it's nearly impossible to remove an employee from the federal government. See, it takes an average of between 1 and 2 years just to remove someone, regardless of the severity of their actions. So most managers simply promote bad employees to other positions just to get them out of the office. This has created a significant problem throughout the federal government, to the point that there are federal offices that actually pay people to stay at home and not come to work. I'm not exaggerating, this is real. I've been working on this reform for the past several years, and early in the 118th Congress, I will be reintroducing the Merit Act, which drastically reforms the federal employment system to allow for the dismissal of poor performing and corrupt employees within 30 to 60 days. Knowing that it's nearly impossible to get removed from the federal payroll has actually encouraged some within the federal ranks from following the law, doing their job effectively, providing good customer service, and obeying the orders from their superiors. But by passing the Merit Act, we can not only get rid of the bad and corrupt people within the government, but we can better ensure that organizations run more effectively, efficiently, and more affordably. While there is much more to our plan to return to a government that is more accountable, this is where we have to start. We realize that it's not going to be easy and we will face significant opposition, especially from those who have been able to use our inefficiencies and dysfunction to their advantage. However, we will need to be bold and push forward regardless of the opposition. If we do, we'll be able to achieve a nation that is free, safe, and full of opportunity, and a government that is small in size, limited in scope, and fully accountable to the American people. God bless you, and God bless America.